All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the past said week in the world of pop culture, whether we're talking about film and TV news, sports news, tech news, and the like. We try to bring you up to speed so that way you are not left in the wind. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And of course, I'm not going to be alone in talking about the said topics that we have for this week's show. So without further ado, I love to welcome my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. What is going on, sir?
I just want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you break up with your ex, don't go crawling back to them because they're gonna treat you bad again.
Oh wow,
Always
wow,
remember
wow.
that.
Wow, we started on an interesting note, folks. But with that in mind, Spills, we had quite a bit happen in this past said week. Chief of which being a jam-packed NBA week. However, before we touch on that, there were a couple other things that went down, of course, whether it's the passing of some icons, two franchises that are receiving new entries in their respective franchises, some new trailers to some current franchises, and the formation of, I guess you can, for all intents and purposes, say a monopoly that can change the landscape of entertainment as we know it. So,
Hmm.
without further ado, shall we dive in?
Let's dive deep in.
Let's go. Let's go. So, we're going to start first, folks. And actually, before I get into my first story, I'll just remind you guys real quick that following the airing of this episode, timestamps will be provided accordingly for you to skip and go backwards and forwards to your heart's content. If you are joining us live, thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it. However, if you're joining us, as I said, after the fact, there will be an opportunity to dive deeper after everything is all said and done. So with that, I wanted to get into our first story. Let me bring that up for you guys now. Let's see here. And it was regarding an unfortunate passing that we had this past week. Let me bring that up now with Carrie Hiroyuki Tagawa. Of course, the actor better known as Shang Tsung for many a generation with the Mortal Kombat franchise. Of course, in the '95 original film, but also later on in the video games as well. You know, he's been in other films to date within his filmography, of course, whether we're talking about Rising Sun or, Showdown in Tokyo. Passed away at the age of 45 due to matters related to stroke. And, it's crazy to think how long it's been since as I said, the original MK film came out. But Spills, I'll pass it along to you. You know, what are your thoughts on the passing of Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa, passing at 75?
I'm kind of sad that having said "Your soul is mine" to Tagawa, I think he was one of the greats. Really loved his work in the Mortal Kombat series. I feel like the '95 Mortal Kombat movie is like top three video game movies all time. I feel like we don't really talk about how good of a video game movie that was, especially for it to come out to 1995 without all of the backbone of CGI graphics that have come out since. But um, I think that the original 1995 movie really captured what they were doing with that franchise and what a tournament game really is. So, shout outs to his family. We're sorry for your loss. Also, for the fighting game community, because we know Mortal Kombat is one of the goats of fighting. I feel like it's either it or Street Fighter is the Madden of fighting games. Probably Street Fighter is the Madden of fighting games, but Mortal Kombat is a close second. So we're gonna get that at NBA 2K just to keep the sports analogy going. But I just am so sad to see that he has passed on.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, I guess I'll second, everything that you said, but also comment on the fact that, when you're talking about iconic performances, and you just commented on the fact of Mortal Kombat being one of those video game adaptations that have stood the test of time. Without a game, that particular film, we wouldn't have the successful adaptations that we have now. When we're talking about things like Fallout, which a couple of years ago, it would have been unheard of to have a property that is based on a video game being turned into a full length series. And now, we're being spoiled with that in this day and age where we actually have a streaming series that is based on a game. And
Hmm.
years ago, that would have been unheard of. If we're also talking about The Last of Us,
Last
critically
of Us, definitely.
critically
Critically acclaimed.
and again, based on a video game. And a lot of times years ago, people would have thrown their nose up at oh, that's just a video game property. It's not at the caliber of some of these other series like Game of Thrones or any of these other films that are out there. And to also be able to say that you have a performance that's iconic enough where it transcends the medium that you're doing. To say that you were originally cast to be a character, and then later on, nearly 30 years later, it's so beloved of a performance that they actually retcon the appearance of the look of the actual character to be your appearance, to be your likeness, and to be your voice. That says something
Hmm.
in the last couple of installments that we had. So yeah, as you said, and I'll second that, Spills. Unfortunate to see that he has passed away, especially in this day and age when we're talking about where we are in terms of science and things like that. To pass away at pass away at 75. I mean, I know maybe a couple of years ago that would have thought to be a relatively long-lived age, but in this day and age, not really. Like it's
Not
still
really at all, no.
really, we still have
He'd
folks.
be young for Congress.
Indeed, indeed. So I mean, we have folks that, and we talk about it a lot here on this show, where we have folks that are still living on in their 80s and 90s. So again, unfortunate to have him pass away at 75. Again, as I mentioned, it was in regards to complications related to stroke, but condolences to family and friends for Mr. Tagawa. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to some some lighter news, if you will, and going into some news surrounding film and TV, as there were a couple of films that are two existing franchises that we now know will be getting new entries. So let me get that up for you guys now. And one is a well-known sci-fi comedy franchise. The other being a full-blown, I guess you can say, a horror franchise. When we're talking about Men in Black as well as Paranormal Activity. Beginning first on Wednesday, it was revealed in an exclusive from the Hollywood Reporter that the Paranormal Activity franchise would be getting a new film added to its current run of films, coming after the merging of his company Atomic Monster with that of paranormal producer Jason Blum's Blumhouse. Producer James Wan is keen to do another film. The original found footage film made for just $15,000 and helped launch Blumhouse after Blum discovered the film and then pumped additional money into the project for a release that became one of its most profitable movies of all time, which say one of the most profitable movies of all time. So now, 7 films later, according to the outlet, the new film will have Paramount on board as a partner to co-finance, co-produce, and distribute the movie. Oren Peli, the filmmaker behind the 2007 film that grossed 194.2 million on a shoestring budget, as I mentioned just moments ago, will also produce via Solana Films. Blum is producing as well, with the theatrical feature said to be a priority for both Paramount and Blumhouse slash Atomic Monster. Additionally, Steven Snyder will executive produce for Room 101 Inc., with Michael Clear and Judson Scott executive producing for Blumhouse Atomic Monster, with executive Elena Glassthal overseeing for the company. Meanwhile, on Thursday, per an exclusive from Deadline, it was revealed that a new Men in Black film is on the way at Sony Pictures, with Bad Boys for Life screenwriter Chris Bremner tasked to pen the next installment in the sci-fi comedy franchise. Though no official details on the plot, insiders for the outlet state that the intention is to bring franchise OG Will Smith back to the fold. Spills, your thoughts on the news on these new installments to these respective franchises?
Well, let's start with Paranormal Activity. The movie that let us know that shooting a camera from down below up your nose is a bad angle. Um,
Oh, I think you're
sure,
thinking
it
of
was
Blair Witch.
terrifying.
You might be thinking of Blair Witch, man.
Oh, you're right. I'm thinking of Blair Witch. Paranormal Activity is the one where the ghost
In
is
the
like,
home. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Paranormal Activity. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this is a live show. I like the Paranormal
Hey,
Activity
hey,
movies.
there are
I
a
think
lot of
this
films
is,
out there. I get it. And I mean, they're
I think
both
this is like the
known.
sixth installment or something like that. I think it's around
Yeah,
that many.
there've been seven. Yeah,
Yeah, seven.
it's
There you
crazy
go,
to believe
seven.
that we're on this number. But yes, go ahead, continue.
It's crazy. The pandemic, like I'll just chalk it up to the pandemic being the pandemic, and we forgot that time exists on a flat plane. Yeah, to quote True Detective, but I like the Paranormal Activity movies. The entity in them is kind of interesting, so I think I'll check it out. That's really something I'm not a crazy horror guy, but I know that you are, Brandon. But I will be checking it out to see what they got going on. Um, I think I'm really interested in Men in Black with Will Smith in it because those are Will Smith movies, even though they ain't let him be in that last one. We see what you're doing. I talked about it when they had that last one. I was like, why they got a movie with Will Smith but no Will Smith? They said I said it with Independence Day. Why y'all keep trying to make the Will Smith movies? I did see, not to go on a tangent about stuff we're not talking about. I don't know if this is AI. Did you see the picture of Michael B. Jordan, Will Smith, and some other random guy? Um,
Yeah, for I'm Legend. Is that what you're
for the
talking
I
about?
Am Legend 2, even though
Yeah,
he blew
yeah,
himself up,
yeah.
maybe it was a clone, that he was dealing with genetics. But give Will Smith the movies. I guess that we're over the slap. Do you think we're over the slap?
I mean, I would say at this day and moment in time, there's been so much that has happened in the world of pulp culture. So when we're talking about the Diddy of things, a couple of
But
other,
tink.
things that have gone on, that I feel like enough time has passed where, I mean, I still feel people remember it, but they're I feel like they're willing to move on from it, especially considering that you have the actor there that is profusely apologetic of that unfortunate moment that they were a part of. It probably would have been different if he wasn't apologetic about it, and he was very kind of smug about the decision that was made there. But after kind of going on, following that time, going on his like apology tour of being regretful of that moment, and also now having some other films that have demonstrated that people have moved on. We it just talked about in the story that you're going to have Bad Boys for Life, a screenwriter attached to it. Even despite what has transpired in the personal life of Will Smith, the Bad Boys franchise still was able to do pretty well. So like if that is any indication where the mindset of the public is when it comes to Will Smith and how they feel about that particular matter that happened at the Oscars, it would seem like people have been able to move on. So I would assume in the same way that people are ready to do the same with this franchise that he's beloved for. So I see it as a as a smart move on both their parts, where there seems to be some momentum for Will Smith of being able to still have an audience when it comes to these blockbusters, and then also for Will Smith too. Sometimes I feel like he's at a point or a stage in his career where he is, in order to kind of reestablish himself, he's going to probably have to revisit some of these existing franchises that he's done thus far. We already, as I mentioned, had a the Bad Boys franchise. Who knows? They may try to dust off Independence Day, especially now. Only reason why I say
Again, well, dust it off again because they dusted
well,
it
no.
off.
No, they did. They did. But the only reason why I bring that up, while this might be an opportune time to dust it off, is for those of you that have been paying attention to another said Alien franchise, when we're talking about what is it, the Predator franchise, it is alluded to that all of that is in the same universe because there seemed to be a trophy of other alien species in the trophy room for the Predator, which it appeared to be the aliens from Independence Day. So are
Oh
they
yeah.
trying to say that all of those exist in the same universe? And if so, does that mean that we're going to have an Independence Day slash Predator crossover where I mean, the opportunities are endless of what you could do, especially now that they've retconned some of the OG characters of the Predator franchise to return, in the Predator franchise. And I know like a lot of those actors are a little bit up there in age, but I mean, we have
Oh yeah.
technology now where you could still bring them back and use technology to do so, or you can limit it to the animated projects, which we saw in what is it, Killer of Killers, that animated series. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Spills, but if you haven't, got to check it out. And for those of you
Oh
that
yeah.
haven't
Sounds like a
either,
great time. I feel like
yeah,
Predator
those of you
cartoons
that
are
haven't either,
just like yeah.
it's pretty good. And they, as I said, they retcon some of those OGs, uh, perhaps making their return. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
So, with that, I don't know about you guys out there. How do you guys feel about it? Let us know down below. But I realized I didn't get into the paranormal activity of it all. When we're talking about these franchises and uh, the amount of money or resources needed to produce them, it's not a lot of money that they need in order to make each of these entries. So it, business wise, you would think it's a no-brainer to be able to do another installment. You do have a lot of uh, interesting figures that are involved in that process. When we're talking about James Wan does have a pedigree when it comes to horrors. So uh, if he has a passion to be able to do another installment, why not? It's not going to take a whole bunch of money to do another installment. When we're talking about this franchise, you don't need any star power, really. You honestly, the story and the what's happening with what's transpiring within that said story is, and the medium or the style that you're utilizing, which is kind of is that found footage style. that it's become that it's recognized for are the things that sell the movie, not necessarily the star power. So um, we'll see what comes of that franchise because I'll be honest with you, I've stuck around for those latter installments in the franchise, and the first couple are pretty good, but after you start getting after three, it starts to fall off, which is not a you know it's not a unusual thing when we're talking about a horror franchise. When you start getting past three, that third film, I feel like you're really kind of pulling for teeth there because especially if you're dealing with a slasher film or you're dealing with a monster, how can you really make it scary or feasible when you're now demonstrating that we're still here a fourth time and a fifth time and a sixth time and a seventh time. So
I feel
but
like though after seven, it starts getting back to being good. Just like the Jason and Freddy films, those like
okay.
four, five, six
Mhm.
are terrible movies. But then you get to seven, you're like, now we're really getting into why Freddy is Freddy. So who knows? Maybe they'll like find a way to make it a great movie. We'll see.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will. As you said, we'll see. Indeed, but let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts on those said things. But that's going to do it for our film and TV talk section. We're going to move on to our next topic of note, and let me bring this off for a second, folks. Okay, all right. But with that, we're going to switch gears into some trailers that we did receive this past week. So let me bring that up for you all now, because we had quite a bit. Let's see here. So we had the Here I Come, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come trailer that dropped this week. The next installment in 28 Years Later, subtitled The Bone Temple, as well as A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And this happened just yesterday. We had the drop of season 5, which of course is the last season of The Boys. So, and speaking of those trailers, Spellman, as I said, all these are recognizable franchises where I feel like the first with Ready or Not, it ended up being a surprise hit, and now we are with our second film on the way. 28 years later, after talking about another franchise that has kind of dusted itself off after some time. Of course, we had the recent installment a couple of months ago, actually. So this is a part two of 28 years later. But we also have, with some franchises, a prequel in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then, as I said, The Boys coming to an end with this fifth season. So which one do you want to dive into first? I lost you there for a second. So
Sorry, I'm here. I just had my thing muted because uh SK, we were calling him SK now, ladies and gentlemen. SK is playing with his toy. So I just want to make sure of audio quality because I'm a professional, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make sure the show is the best possible show that we can do.
hey, it's a live show, man. Anything can
It's
happen in a live show. But what I
anything can
was
happen in our live show, ladies and
before
gentlemen.
before
But
we lost you just for a moment, I was just asking what are your thoughts on, because I just introduced each of the trailers that we got this week. Of course, we had Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, which is a continuation of the Ready or Not original film that was a surprise hit. And then we have 28 Years Later, which is continuing the story that we got just a couple of months ago with 28 Years Later. It's like a part two of that. And then we have A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, a prequel in the world of Game of Thrones. And then last but not least, we have The Boys, their fifth and final season, dropping a teaser just yesterday. So whichever one you want to dive into first,
Well, let's
I will.
start with 28 years later, a sequel that came too fast. Like, I feel like the um 28 days later came out, then 28 months later came out. That felt like it was about 28 months. Then this has felt like 28 years. But then they come up with a sequel within the same calendar year, like the DMX. So to me, that's like what's going on here. Um, I didn't see the 28 years later, though I want to check it out because I want to see what happens with those characters.
Yeah, it's on streaming
Um,
now. It's out there now. So
we'll check it out. Me and Teresa, I will watch it, but she'll probably grab my arm and be like, "Why we watching this scary old movie?" So we'll see. We will see. We will see. That could maybe be something that I do so I can get some cuddles. Um, Ready or Not 2. I didn't see Ready or Not 1, so I think I have to watch Ready or Not 1 before this new one comes out. A Knight's Tale, the Seven Kingdoms, that's interesting, but all those Game of Thrones properties, they print money. And then The Boys, obviously everybody likes The Boys. It's allegory for our spiraling government and other kinds of things as we spiral into the ism. So let's just watch that. I think that's interesting and very poignant for the era. How do you feel about some of these properties?
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess for me, if we're just going down the line here and talking about Ready or Not, two, Here I Come. Um, I had an opportunity to see that film in theaters, and it was a welcome surprise. There is a lot of, I feel like, dark humor that is a part of that said film, and while I feel like they did a good job of being able to blend the horror elements that are a part that are kind of working in the background of the story with some of the dark humor that's there. If the trailer is any indication, it seems like that feel is still there of incorporating kind of like twisted dark humor with all this crazy horror elements that we have going on. We do have some cool additions that are in this installment. You can't go wrong with Sarah Michelle Gellar of being included in this franchise. You also can't go wrong with Elijah Wood and his pedigree, what he brings to the table. So I'm definitely excited to see what they're able to do with this franchise. My only concern is as I said, this wasn't really a franchise that I feel like the idea or the plan was to do an additional installment. And so a lot of times when we're dealing with franchises that are surprise hits, when they when there's a decision to greenlight a sequel because there wasn't necessarily a plan to ever do so, it kind of falls really far short of the original film. And a good example that I can think of, Spills, when we're talking about films that are comedies or have that element of dark humor, would be something like The Whole Nine Yards. I enjoy The Whole Nine Yards a great deal. However, The Whole 10 Yards is nowhere near at the caliber, I feel, of The Whole Nine Yards.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
not at all.
so that's unfortunate too, because The Whole Nine Yards I enjoy so much, and a lot of the actors that you have involved with it, but unfortunately, spoiler alert, a lot of them get killed off, so you don't really have an opportunity to really enjoy them, and they kind of retcon one of the villains to play their brother, and I don't really feel like that works that much.
Oh yeah, it
A
never
lot of the
works.
humor a lot of the humor seems really forced and doesn't really land. So I hope that a lot of care was given in terms of having this film feel like it has merit instead of it feeling like it's just kind of like an add-on or something that was kind of tacked together really fast to be able take advantage of the excitement of the original film. So we'll see. Um, when we're talking about what is it, 28 years later, there had been a hiatus since the last installment, which, if memory serves, this would be the third film. So we have what is it, 28 days later, and then we have 28 weeks later. They skipped the whole 28 months later, but
Because no one's brain
with
works in months. No one, like, that's why they give you the time in months. They'd be like, speaking of certain people that got verdicts, he got 50 months. When you hear 50 months, that sounds like not a lot of time, but that's actually like 6 years. So, you don't do math in 12s that fast. So definitely, yeah, I see what they're doing with it. So,
Right, right, right. Well, I mean, when we're talking about this franchise, as I said, they're doing something interesting here in that, from if memory serves, they're doing a trilogy of these sets of films. The first portion of this said trilogy came out, what, like, I want to say, and you can, if you want to check it real quick, I want to say
I
it
would
was
say it
about.
was about 2003 or 2004.
No,
Because
no, no.
I,
I'm
I, I
saying, so the bone, not
the
Bone
Bone
Temple, but
Temple.
the 28 years later wasn't that long ago. It was like a couple of months ago, I feel. Um,
That's why I made my joke about how quickly it came out. The original one came out when we was just getting out of high school. You might have still been in high school when that movie came
yeah, I
out.
was still in high school for
I think
sure.
my sister was still in high school because I think I went to see it with her. So
Okay,
that's
okay.
been about 28 years because we old.
No, but can you check it for me? Because I was going to say, with 28 years later, which is the first part of this installment, that was just a couple of months ago. I'm trying to pinpoint the exact the exact month. I want to say maybe 3-4 years ago. But anyway, be that as it may, what's up, little man? What's going on? So in
He can't
talking
hear you.
about
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties.
so when thinking of that,
Yeah, June
un
20th. So that wasn't even 6 months ago, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, when we're talking about this film, unlike what we had going with Ready or Not, this is a story in which we know that there is a plan of how the arcs are going to play out and how the story is going to play out. And so I'll be keen to see what else they introduce in this film, because they do establish some world building things in the in 28 years later, which came out a couple of months ago, in terms of the different types of creatures that we have, because we have, apparently they've established that there are different castes of these creatures that exist. We also have the introduction of a couple of characters in this community that has been introduced in this said film. So, and where they left it off, where one of our characters runs into this very eccentric band of characters, and what's going to become of that. It will be interesting to see what they introduce going forward. I know for some people that they were a little let down by some components of the film. Me personally, I didn't take issue with much in the sequel. I appreciated a lot of what they were able to do, and what they introduced and established as new elements of the lore. So keen to see how it's going to evolve further. Now, getting into the Game of World, Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones universe, with this prequel that we have with a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Thus far, when we're talking about the introduction of a lot of these shows, or the start of a lot of these shows, I never really take issue with. It's when they actually come to an end, is when I take issue with some of the shows when it comes to Game of Thrones. We have the original run of the show, which I'm sure many people out there would agree didn't end in a satisfactory way that a lot of people would have liked. When we're talking about the prequel, House of the Dragon has been great. I don't know if you're, caught up, Spills, but it's been great thus far. The series hasn't ended, so in terms of them being able to introduce the world and establish a lot of the elements, because it's not coming to an end, it's been fun. Like the first season was fun. Like there were things where I felt like they moved too quickly towards certain story beats, but in for the sake of time and storytelling, I understand perhaps why they might have done that, because they wanted to get to certain beats in the story for within that said season, and so in order to do so, they had to skip some things. But I will say, in terms of starting or establishing new stories within this universe, that has never been my problem. So I don't feel concerned when talking about this series that we'll have that same issue. But maybe you might feel differently.
Yeah, I don't have too many concerns. It's a cash grab at the end of the day, which is not surprising given our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. So we will get back to you on grabbing that cash.
For sure, for sure, for sure. But I don't know how you guys feel out there, but lastly, in talking about the boys, are you caught up, Spills, on everything thus far? Because I mean, we have the boys, we have the spinoff Gen V, which kind of happens in between the at least story wise happens in between the main series seasons. Um, have you had a chance to catch up on those said shows?
I'm gonna tell you an honest truth as a comic book fan. I know this is blasphemous, but I do not support the Amazon products. So
Oh
I don't even
wow!
watch The Boys, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh
I've
wow!
seen a couple of episodes of people's houses. I don't give Jeff Bezos my money. He is a terrible guy. I don't know why we let him go to space and gallivant around like he's the man. But that's another argument for a different podcast. When we come up with the different podcasts about that kind of stuff, I'll talk to you about it. But we're trying to get monetized over here. I actually love The Boys. The Boys is the greatest show ever made. Jeff Bezos, he's got a full head of hair. I love Jeff Bezos. He's a great guy.
You are wrong, but okay. Thinking about the boys, um, it in terms of what they've done with the series thus far, I have been impressed of what they've been able to accomplish, of what how they've been able to map out a lot of these seasons. As I just was mentioning with Game of Thrones, it's not easy to be able, especially when it's coming from something that you're not coming up yourself originally, and it's being adapted from another source. It can be tricky to kind of navigate providing a satisfying adaptation from that source material while also adding new elements to keep things fresh, not only for people who may not know the original source material, but also for those who do know the story, to keep them on their toes so that way they don't feel like they know everything that's going to happen. And don't get me wrong, like when you're adapting something to another medium, we were just talking about Mortal Kombat earlier with the passing of Carrie. Um, that it while it is cool as a fan to be able to have a lot of elements that you do recognize, at the same time you do want to have those fresh elements too that you don't anticipate. And sometimes when you're utilizing a different medium, it gives you an opportunity to do different things. Obviously, if you are adapting something from a book is going to be very descriptive in terms of what's happening. But when you're talking about streaming, television, film, it is a visual medium. And so a lot of things that perhaps takes a couple of pages to be able to explain away in terms of what's transpiring between characters, you can explain away just with a glance or with a action beat. So there is that interesting dynamic there when you are shifting into another medium where a lot of those things don't necessarily translate one to one when you're talking
Yeah.
about trying to adapt something. Now, in the case of the boys, as I said, from season to season, I feel like they have done an impressive job of capturing uh, arcs for certain characters and seeing a progression of where each of those characters are going. And it's not an easy feat, especially when you're dealing with an ensemble like that, where you have a whole ensemble of characters, not just on the villain side, but also on the heroes side too. And for everyone to be able to, for it to feel like everyone is getting their moment to be able to evolve and progress those characters. Because if you look back on season one and you're looking back, looking now at the end of finding yourself at the end of season four, so much has happened with a lot of these characters where many of them are nowhere near where they started from when we first got introduced to them at at the beginning of season one. Which for some series, believe it or not, I sometimes take issue with, because I'm like, they haven't really progressed that much. They kind of are the same. But in the case of this show, these characters have gone through so many different things that they're unrecognizable, which is great. They're unrecognizable psychologically, physically, from where they are when we first are introduced to them, which is what you want if you are dedicating time to watching, a series, is being able to see the evolution of these characters. And sometimes it's fun to be able to go back and be like, wow, look at them now. Like, look where they started from, and now imagining, now knowing where they're headed. So they've they've done a terrific job for these past four seasons. Fingers crossed that they knock it out of the park with this fifth and final season. If the teaser is anything to go by, it looks like we might be in good shape. But sometimes the promotional material just does a really good job. You have a really good editor, and sometimes the trailer, the teasers, the trailers really get you hyped for a show or a film, and it may not really tell the story of the finished product that you're getting. So hopefully they're able to make it past the finish line and give us a terrific finale. And be that as it may of how you feel, Spills, I definitely
No, Jeff Bezos
recommend.
is a wonderful person. Jeff Bezos doesn't at all look like Dr. Evil. He's a great guy. You know, Mackenzie Scott was not the best person for leaving him. She should have left him. She should have stayed with him. He's a great man.
Oh man, oh
He's the
man,
best. He's the best billionaire ever. He turned books
hilarious,
into a TV channel. Who else could turn books into a TV channel?
hilarious,
That's just what
hilarious.
good people do. They turn books into TV channels. He was selling books. The next thing you know, he got a superhero channel. And he got Monday, Thursday night football in a place where I could watch it whenever I want to. I could always watch Amazon for Thursday night football. That isn't at all hard for me to watch. That's not hard for me to watch. I could watch it anywhere. My grandmother could watch it. She could figure that out real easy. That's why I love Jeff Bezos, because he made it easier to watch football on Thursday nights.
If sarcasm had a face, folks, blink two times if you're under. Hey yo, but how do you guys feel out there? For those of you that checked out some of the trailers that we had dropped this week, you can let us know down below. We are now going to switch gears into some streaming news, some streaming talk, because we had a little event of sorts that happened this week between Netflix and Warner Brothers. So you might be asking yourselves, what do I mean? So that is Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. Though it's not officially expected to close until the third quarter of 2026, on Friday, Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery announced that they had reached an agreement under which Netflix would acquire Warner Brothers, including its film and TV studios, its gaming business, as well as HBO Max and HBO. The deal has a total enterprise value, including debt, of approximately 82.7 billion, with an equity value of 72 billion. The companies have revealed. So how will this look going forward? Well, according to Netflix, the expectation is to maintain Warner Brothers' current operation and build on its strengths, including theatrical releases for films. So currently, Warner Brothers has deals to release its films in cinemas through 2029. In the near term, Netflix signaled it would keep HBO Max as a discrete service, while it also touted the addition of HBO and HBO Max content to its lineup. So we're still gonna, have HBO Max at least for the time being, but just expect that we're probably gonna get basically translation. We're gonna get more of that content that's owned by Warner Brothers making its way onto Netflix a lot sooner. So Spillman, your thoughts on the news of this acquisition? And as I said, it's still early days. It still needs to close. Um, um, per the story, won't officially close until next year. So a lot can happen between now and then.
So you remember how I said that man turned books into a whole TV channel that had the NFL on it? This is worse. These people were just renting people movies. They was trying to be a competitor to Blockbuster. Blockbuster could have bought them, and Blockbuster will own Warner Brothers now, but they didn't buy them. This is just a very interesting change in the world. I know that we don't think of it this way, but Netflix owns entertainment. I don't know if you don't know. They have made themselves synonymous with adult relations. If you haven't noticed, Netflix. See, it's even got the joke right here. We got the joke right here. The joke is right
Yeah,
there. So
yeah, wink, wink, yeah,
I'm just amazed that Netflix has come this far. I remember when they used to have the envelopes. To go
yeah,
from the
yeah,
envelopes to owning Warner Brothers is crazy. I'm sure they never thought that they was going to own Warner Brothers.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm amazed that they have come to this point. Warner Brothers is obviously now Netflix owns Batman, Superman, Catwoman, and all your favorite characters.
I mean, it
Um,
goes deeper than that, man. Because if you think about it, I mean, Warner Brothers owns. We were just talking about Mortal Kombat at the top, right? Warner
yeah,
Brothers owns Mortal Kombat.
Bugs
So,
Bunny,
this includes a lot of stuff. This includes
the
any of the
Disney
DC
Channel.
related properties. So James Gunn, Peter Safran, the new rebooted DC universe for all intents and purposes. Mortal Kombat. Game of Thrones. We were just talking about Game of Thrones, a prequel, a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Um,
Probably the Real Housewives. I think they own the Real Housewives
I
now.
mean, there's so many franchises that this entails, and
90
it's,
Day Fiance.
I mean, so I'll just say this: it'll be interesting how it looks going forward, or if it even goes through, because I know that there have been petitions by petitions to kind of prevent this from happening. If
I
memory,
think we should prevent it, honestly. I agree with that. I think that we left cable. Everybody, we unplugged to get away from cable. But then Netflix has turned into cable, ladies and gentlemen. This is cable. This Netflix logo, you might as well call it Comcast or Verizon or any of these other things. I think that Netflix is a scary corporation that needs to not be having this amount of power. I feel like this is like that Kanye song, no one man should have all this power. No one streaming platform should have all this power. To own Netflix and um HBO is crazy, and it's going to get worse. Like we're seeing all these properties that they own right now. Just like 5 years ago, we said that Disney Plus had this huge vault of things that we're going to be able to look at any time, and that's not how it actually works. all that stuff is vaulted and stuff. So they'd be like, "It'll come back soon. We'll let you know. Come back," and it'll never come back. So,
So I wanted
um,
to, 'cause I brought it up just a moment ago. I wanted to bring this up, and this is an exclusive out of Variety. That there have been, A-listers, so A-list quote unquote actors that have lobbied Congress against this acquisition, because as you were mentioning, it's going to have huge ramifications on the entertainment industry at large. Let me see if I can get this up for you guys. Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, anonymous A-listers lobby Congress against Netflix. Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition. Streamer would hold a noose around the theatrical marketplace, because if we're talking about that, that means that they're going to have a hand in what projects going forward will be able to have a theatrical release. And I know right now they're saying that they're going to leave things as they are, and allow films to have their theatrical release. But who's to say in the future that they just don't decide, hey,
why
we're
we
not
need these
about
movie theaters
we're not
for? They
about
don't
that
they don't need no
anymore. We wanted
movies.
to,
Yeah.
wanted to come directly to Netflix. They could if they wanted to. So while people may think by the honor system and think, well, yeah, right now they're saying that, but folks change their mind. They could very easily just say, okay, this project is not going to receive a theatrical run. This project is not going to be in theaters for an extended period. For this period of time, it's only going to be in theaters for a couple of weeks per versus a couple of months, and then we're going to put it on Netflix, or we're going to make it exclusive to Netflix, where you have to pay for our service just to be able to watch this current content. Like, there's so many different ways that it allows them to have an unforeseen crazy amount of influence on content going forward. And it adds into that other things too, because when we're talking about the strike, a lot of what was going on with that had to deal with, those residuals and how streaming, the new platform of streamers, have affected that that system that a lot of artists rely on in order to make their living. If they're not working for a couple period of time, if they aren't doing a project immediately after the last one that they did, the residuals a lot of times would allow you to be able to still pay your bills and to make a living. And when we have streaming coming along, a lot of that uh, a lot of that system got got tampered with, or messed with, because it's something that's brand new when we're talking about new media. So it'll be interesting to see what the ramifications are going forward. As I said, right now it's still early days. A lot can happen between now and third quarter 2026. Who knows? Maybe a decision might get made to prevent this deal from happening. Anything can happen for right now, but at least right now it's pending, and it looks like an agreement has been struck between those two companies to be able to have this acquisition go through. But yeah, so many ramifications right now. Right now, you guys don't really feel it because it's still early days, and they're still trying to make that
$50. Be
they're still
prepared.
trying
We're
to
gonna be
make that
paying fifty
transition.
dollars.
But mark my words, if it ends up actually clearing and closing, we're going to have a lot of things that happen. You're going to have a lot of people that are losing their jobs because there's too much. What's the phrase that's used? A lot of repetitiveness regarding some of the roles. So in order to kind of streamline a lot of that, a lot of times when you're dealing with these acquisitions from the company that is being acquired, some of those positions are done away with in order to kind of streamline things. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, even though you know what is it, Zaslav, who's
Mm-hmm.
with Warner Brothers, has assured folks that, oh, not too much is going to change. You like it should, the intention is to allow the those films that are have theatrical windows to continue as is, for projects that are already working to be able to continue as they are, and only work on those said things that have not already been set in stone. But like I said, anything could happen, and it also plays into other things too. As I said, it can play into affect um, other things going forward, such as further issues with how the artists who make these said programs and shows are able to make their living, especially if Netflix has so much influence over so much of the content. At this point, it's basically going to be Netflix and Disney
It's just Netflix
because
and Disney. It's not basically Netflix and Disney. It's Netflix and Disney. That's what it is. And sadly, it's going to ruin sports too. All the sports
yeah,
gambling and stuff, that's going to change
all that's
everything.
under
I just
Disney.
feel like
Yeah, that ESPN, all of that Disney.
I was
So
just talking to my friends about this the other day. I said, I have been paying Disney $5 since 2020 for ESPN Plus. And just last month, they decided, oh, you paying for ESPN Plus already, but you need ESPN Plus Prime or something to watch Monday Night Football because I can't watch Monday Night
right.
Football anymore. So
Oh yeah.
Bob Iger, you about to be on that
Oh
Jeff
yeah.
Bezos list of wonderful people that I love so much. I just love you. I love what you've done with the Marvel universe. You haven't made it at all a terrible universe. It's a great universe for launching new talent and all of that stuff. And none of the movies are repetitive. They don't seem like they're cookie cutter at all. They don't seem like
Please
that at
don't.
all. I just, I'm really tired of this. We're stuck. These people get their money every month on time. It's not even like the cable company where you kind of lie to the cable company and then like get a fake cable box. There's no fake cable. There's no fake Netflix box. They took the box away from us. There's no Netflix box. You can't get no hookup. You can't use your sister's login or your mother's login no more. They don't even let you do that. So to be getting, and they're going to get $50 in 2 years. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to say, well, with the way that the market prices are going, and because we're giving you the access to this now doubled library, which is not really doubled because a lot of this stuff is redundant, and they had most of the stuff that we wanted to watch on Netflix from HBO already. Also, a lot of the stuff that Marvel had on there is probably going to come off. So it's always a shuffle, and they're going to be stealing, ladies and gentlemen. And I have nothing to say. I can't watch Thursday or Monday night football anymore. Now I can just watch Sunday football, and that's going to be taken away from me before we know it. Somebody going to buy CBS and Fox, and then I'm going to be screwed.
Hey, well, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. Hear you on your soapbox, sir. Because I mean, when we're talking about those strategies that are used in order to prevent you from being able to watch certain shows or certain programs, can definitely be frustrating. Because I think, speaking of CBS, and we're talking about CBS or Paramount, that could be frustrating too. Because I mean, someone who watches Dexter, like they had a, what is it, for you had to have Paramount Plus to be able to watch the show a couple of days early, and then if you didn't have Paramount Plus, you had to wait till Sunday in order to watch the actual show. So, and I know first world problems. I know.
Those are first world problems. Those are all
First world
world
problems.
problems now. We are
Yeah,
not in the
but
first
I'm
world
just saying,
anymore.
like,
We're
you shouldn't
digital
have to
nomads,
pay.
my friend.
You shouldn't have to pay an extra fee in order to force folks well, you're not forcing, but I guess having people watch uh certain shows, giving people the opportunity to watch certain shows earlier. Just have it come out on Friday, like,
They
instead of
paywalled
waiting until
Monday Night
Sunday.
Football. How do you paywall Monday Night Football?
And also, folks, speaking of sports, I remember times, Spills, that I could watch a game on NBC. I could watch a certain game on the hardwood on NBC without having to have all these streamers to be able to watch the games. I didn't have to have ESPN. I didn't have to have what's the other one, Peacock. I didn't have to have all these streamers just to be able to watch the game. I didn't need to have cable. I could have just watched
Hmm.
it on regular TV. What a thought! What a thought that you could just watch sports on regular TV.
Just
But
regular
now
old
you need,
TV.
but now it's scraggly black and white TV. But now we have to have all these streamers and all these different platforms just to be able to enjoy the game. Otherwise, you have to watch the highlights. You know, hopefully, catching the highlights after the fact because you don't have that said streamer. And then on top of that, too, having it divvied up among so many different streamers to be able to watch games in the season. Have one place. I shouldn't have to go to 4 or 5 different places to get my games. But again, off my soapbox. Off my
That's
soapbox.
right.
But actually, that's a good segue because we were actually going to dive into the main topic that we had for this week's show, which we had a couple of stories that happened this past week. That, of course, being LeBron James' streak of his ending, as well as the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder still remaining with one loss, which you can see in the background. So we'll begin first on Thursday, following a buzzer beater win against the Raptors. LeBron's assist to Rui Hachimura would result in the latter scoring the winning basket. However, in doing so, LeBron broke a streak that was unexpected for him, scoring in single digits for a game. That's right. After consistently scoring double digits for over 19 years across 1,297 games, James scored only 8 points in the Lakers' win. Elsewhere in the NBA, while one streak ends, another continues to push forward as the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder won their 14th straight game following a win Friday night against the Dallas Mavericks. As a result, the win brings the team's overall record to 22-1 thus far this season. So, Spills, what say you? Are you concerned about James' streak ending? And can the Thunder be stopped?
I'm gonna tell you about the chosen one. The chosen one asks the soul of the game for court vision. He didn't ask for hops. He didn't ask to score the rock. And you know why he asked for court vision? For the team. Now we're not worried about a scoring streak. LeBron is score winning games. Did you see how happy the Lakers looked? That's how a team is supposed to look. They jump in each other's arms. We doing the opposite of what the Clippers doing. We're not sending people home in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. We don't do that over here in Lakerland. What we do is we pass the rock. We say, and pass that rock. Just like Magic taught us. So I'm not really worried about LeBron's streak. I think that it was actually great for the team. It was a great morale booster to show everybody that even though some of his detractors have said that all he cares about is scoring points. I've seen some people in some podcast shows that are played on Sunday even afternoons talk about how all LeBron care about is records. The record that he care about is wins and losses. That's all we care about. So for LeBron to do that, I've liked how he's integrated himself into the team with the emergence of Austin Reeves. They try and call Austin Reeves young Kobe Bryant right now. I know that's a little bit blasphemous, but he is the HBK Hillbilly Kobe. So I think it's great for the team. I really think that just like this monopoly with Netflix and Warner Brothers is about to open up, the Thunder have a monopoly because the Clippers are going to give them that first round draft pick. That's probably going to be number one or number two. So they're going to continue to get good. I don't know what we're supposed to do with the Thunder. They're just a great team, top to bottom. Um, they got big men, little men, medium men, shooting men, defending men, all kinds of guys. And it's just, it don't seem fair. So maybe the Lakers can catch them because we are number two, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what standing your team is because I'm sure y'all in the playing or something, but we not in no playing. We playing good. We playing at the top of the league. So I'm happy to see that. How do you feel about the LeBron streak ending. I know that you'll say, "Oh, he's not the GOAT," but he scored 13, almost
He's not
1,300
the GOAT.
games.
Even if he didn't break the even if he didn't break the streak, he's not the GOAT. But I mean, we can go back and forth about that. You're not going to convince me otherwise. But be that as it may, he has always been my number two. It's not like I don't see the greatness there. Like when we're talking about LeBron James, there's nothing wrong with being number two all time in all of NBA history. Like he's my number two. He's not my number one. He's my number two, but that's nothing to look down on of being number two all time in my book. Um, Let me ask you this. When we're talking about LeBron James, do you feel like it sounds like you feel like he did this more as a statement game of just demonstrating that? Do you feel like he really could not score double digits in that game, or you feel like he just purposely did that to make a point?
I think that he did it to make a point. We wanted to win the game. We wanted to build up Rui Hachimura for the rest of the season. These are the kind of things that people like, even when he came back and he threw that lob to DeAndre Ayton, DeAndre was like, that's the second oop you threw me. The last one was when I was in high school at your camp, big fella. So to me, I feel like the things that people complain about LeBron, we've heard some rumblings about him not wanting to meet Will Smith one time and Russ complaining all in the videos, dancing. Um, we've seen a lot of people complaining about his bought inness, and I feel like this is just showing that LeBron is bought in all the way. He's always here for a team. He's going to make the team better. Uh, you could blame him for you not being great, but that's not why you not great. He's great. So to me, I feel like LeBron is going to do what he needs to do to make everything work. I'm not surprised that he was able to, you know, get that win. I think wins are more important than 10-point scoring. There's no one. The top five scorers in league history are the top five people who on that streak list. And really, who really cares about scoring 10 points in the game? It's about how many chips you win. We don't care about 10 points. People get 10 points on trash teams all the time, and we don't ever care about that. So to me, it was a cool streak that he was doing it since George W. Bush was in office. He's been scoring 10 points in the NBA so long, they didn't have black presidents back then. Um, but I just feel like it was good for the team, and that's what LeBron cares about. The chosen one asked for court vision.
So, all right. So, with that perspective in mind, I figure I'll do a couple of things. First, to answer your question about where the standings are, we're still in the playoff picture. The Warriors are still in the playoff picture. Yes, they're in the eighth seed, but I would also argue that you're in a two-way tie with the Denver Nuggets, which I don't foresee you guys beating that tie. I do have the Nuggets getting getting the nod over you guys between that second and third seed that you guys have as a tie. You guys are both tied at 16-6 as it stands right now. And
Mhm.
at least for me, and this is no slight against you guys. I mean, I feel like the Nuggets right now are a more talented team, but you may subjectively feel differently, which is fine.
That was
But
that was that was nice how you lean that subjectively in there. I see you see that, ladies and gentlemen. He was saying subjectively. Usually, you say objectively to mean that you're impartial. You're not putting your finger on the scale. But now he's going to try to tell you, our lovely audience, that I am a partial judge, and I am.
like
I like the Lakers. They're a great team. They the number one franchise in NBA history. Not green team. We're standing. We're not gonna talk about the green team because we don't care about those people. But clearly, one of the greatest franchises of all time. So, um,
but
I think we're better than the Nuggets. I
mm,
don't know if their players can hold up through the
y'all don't
season.
y'all don't have y'all don't have the size to take on Joker.
DeAndre Ayton is averaging like 12 and 8.
I ain't worried
And
about no Aiden. I
And
ain't
we
worried.
don't
We ain't worried.
he's
Ain't
he's
worried.
jumping out the gym. He's playing
Ain't
great
worried.
defense. I think that you know quietly as it's kept all these years, these last couple of years, we've been talking about how we needed a center, and we got a center now. So we look like a much different
Put
team. But
Aaron put Aaron Gordon on Hillbilly Kobe. I feel like we're good.
Aaron Gordon,
Aaron
please.
Gordon.
Aaron
Put
Gordon is a
Aaron
power
Gordon.
forward.
I don't care. You need to
Hillbilly
put some
Kobe will
size.
give that
Put
boy
some size on.
60.
No, he's not.
60.
He's not. I
60. And
promise you.
then look, if they did that, Hillbilly Kobe will put 60 on him. And then you'd have to look at those highlights on YouTube and all these other streaming services for the rest of your days
People
because the
sleep.
people that
I'm
make those
telling you,
streamers
people sleep on
love to see
Aaron
guys like
Gordon's
Hillbilly Kobe
Aaron
score.
Gordon's defense.
They
Like
might
he's
make
a
him the
capable
logo.
defender, and a lot of times
He's the
they
new
throw
Jerry
him on
West.
their scores. They
He's
throw
the
they
new
throw
Jerry
him on their
West.
scores because
Hmm.
his size and athleticism is a problem defensively. So
Yeah.
the only wild card that I would say you have with you guys is how bought in Luka Doncic is going to be, because we know he's going to get his offensively, but is he going to be a problem defensively? Is he going to be a defensive liability? Because he's not really someone who's really known for his defense. And let's be honest, sometimes he gets fried on defense. So as good as he is offensively, it's still sometimes is not enough to take him over the hump based on his defensive, um, his dedication on defense, since that's not really something he's known for. Um,
Hmm.
because outside of that, outside of what LeBron, who right now is still battling uh, sciatica, um, Doncic, who while he has dedicated himself, in terms of his body of getting in shape, he's had little small stints already this season where he's had injuries. The only one who seemed to be relatively durable is your boy, is Cole,
That's right.
for right now. For right now. But and speaking of the Thunder, it's crazy to be able to see this run that they have. The only concern that I have is when you're talking about a lot of these teams that have one wins, so much attention is focused on what their record is that they kind of, a lot of times with these types of teams, they lose sight of the big picture because they're trying so hard to beat a record for the regular season. As much as I love the Warriors, I feel like that was an issue that came in that season that they had the 70 plus wins, where there was so
Oh,
much
you mean
attention.
the time that LeBron came back from 3-1 and won the championship in y'all face because y'all
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
get it
yeah.
done
I'll
at
give you
home?
that. I'll give you that because there was
It
so
don't
much
mean a thing
attention.
without the ring. That's what Scotty and Michael said on The
It
Last
was
Dance. I
so much
saw them say that.
attention focused on the season when, big picture wise, the attention should have been focused on the postseason and winning a title. Like,
Hmm.
so yeah, like I would say, and we have that even in college, because one team that comes to mind immediately for me is, people forget how good that Memphis team was. That had Derrick Rose, that had what is it, Cousins. It had a whole roster of NBA talent on that team, and like for most of the season, they only had like one loss, and then they got all the way to the national championship, and they were the over touted favorite to win that game, and they ended up losing. So
But that was just
um,
one game. Y'all was up 3-1 for the first time in NBA playoff history, finals history, nonetheless. You were up 3-1.
yeah, he took
Y'all
her
were
foot
making
off the
little
gas.
memes and stuff, and the
Took her
GOAT.
foot off the gas again. One could argue that if you're taking your foot off the gas for just a portion of what you have there in the regular season, so that way you have enough gas left in the postseason, that we may be, having a different conversation. But history being what it is, it's fine. It happened. But I do feel like the idea of trying to beat that record, which they did beat that regular season record, but at what cost though? Like, what costs? At what cost to trying to play, a lot of your players more minutes that a lot of your franchise players more minutes than what they need to, so that way they have enough gas in the tank later on when they're playing in the postseason. Things that may potentially result in, little knick-knack or knick-knack injuries that you otherwise wouldn't get because you're, playing them more minutes than you need to. I mean, it's a good example. A good example of that would be the Dallas game. Like, what is it? Alexander Shea Gildas Alexander. They only had him playing 3 quarters. He didn't even play the fourth quarter. Like that's
Yep.
how much of a dominating performance it was for their team that they were able to sit him for an entire quarter. There's no need to play him, the whole 4 quarters, just to, you know, uh, uh, just to ensure that the win is there. And I feel like in getting the number of wins that they did, while they were able to accomplish that feat, and again, great for them that they got the regular season record, it came at a cost. I don't know how you guys feel out there. Were there some other stories that we did not touch on? I know we didn't touch on the Chris Paul situation with the Clippers,
Oh, we
unfortunate
touched on it
situation.
because LeBron is sharing the ball and not criticizing his teammates. That's what I was trying to get at earlier, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Paul, I saw a video where Chris Paul was trying to hug up Tyronn Lue's wife, but or
And
girlfriend. I don't
actually,
know.
speaking of Chris Paul right now is what, second all time in assists. And again, kudos to LeBron.
LeBron is going to pass him.
He's going to pass him this year.
He's going to pass him.
He's likely going to pass him this year,
So
which is
one and
crazy to
two.
think
How
about
can you not be
because
the GOAT if you
it's
number
not
one in
even
points
his.
and number two in assists? That is a Wayne Gretzky stat. What do we call Wayne Gretzky? How many championships does Wayne Gretzky have?
Oh, he's the Gretzky is the GOAT of hockey for sure. But I see what you tried to do there. Good try. Good try. So because of this, therefore this. I see what you're trying to do there, sir. Good try. But no, can't do that. Be that as it may, what's going on? What's going on? Little Spills Jr. But that's gonna do it for this week in pop culture. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna punt it over to Spills first. Spills, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Truly Spill on Instagram.com. Unless Netflix buys it. If Netflix buys Instagram, then maybe I won't be able to be found there. But for now, that's where you can find me.
Fair deal, fair deal. And I, of course, am Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X, and then Brandon Choi _ ENT on Instagram. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see y'all soon, folks. Peace.